Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before this esteemed August House today with great honor and a deep sense of responsibility to present the following documents for your deliberation and consideration. 1. Draft National Budget for fiscal year 2024-2025. 2. Appropriation Bill 2024-2025 and Finance Bill 2024-2025. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, Article 88, Sub-Article 1 of the Transitional Constitution of the Republic of South Sudan, 2011 as amended, and Article 15 of the Public Financial Management and Accountability Act, 2011, mandate the Minister of Finance and Planning to prepare and present the annual budget proposal to Parliament on behalf of the President of the Republic. It is both an honor and a constitutional obligation to fulfill. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, it is crucial to emphasize the importance of these budget framework documents. The draft national budget outlines the government's projected annual spending in line with revenue estimates. The appropriation bill provides detailed guidelines for allocating the estimated revenues to key government priorities and other financial obligations. And the finance bills sets out the tax rates and fees related to the budget. The Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, allow me to present an assessment of the past fiscal year performance and the key highlights of the 2024-2025 budget proposal, considering your pivotal role in this process. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the submission and approval process for the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget was delayed partly due to changes in the ministry and unavoidable circumstances that affected the budget preparation and submission timeline. The Ministry of Finance, however, would like to emphasize that despite these delays, we are fully prepared to ensure a successful budget execution as soon as this August House approves the budget. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the theme of the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget is to accelerate economic recovery through improving livelihoods, sustaining peace, and investing in critical social services and agriculture. In keeping with this theme, the government's objective is to attain peace and political stability, achieve economic recovery, and improve the well-being of our citizens through strategic allocation of resources. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, global economic growth is projected to stabilize at 3% this year, holding steady for the first time in 3 years despite flaring geopolitical tensions and high interest rates. Furthermore, a growth rate of 3.2% is forecasted for 2025, primarily attributed to the expansion, albeit restraint in trade and investment. Projections suggest a decrease in global inflation, although slower than expected, with an average of 5.3% this year, and an estimated reduction to approximately 4% by 2025. Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, it is anticipated that the growth in sub-Saharan Africa will rise to 4.2% in 2024 and maintain an average of about 4.1% in 2025 and 2026. This projection is underpinned by a decrease in inflation, enhanced private consumption, and investment. However, it is imperative to acknowledge that the projected recovery is marginally weaker than previously forecasted. This can be chiefly linked to the adverse effects of recent political instability and conflict escalations, which have impeded the recovery process in specific parts of the region. Addressing these challenges and bolstering the region's growth is fundamental. The good news, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, is that the East Africa region is poised for a strong economic growth that will outpace other African regions. Projections indicate robust economic performance with an anticipated overall growth rate of 4.9% in 2024 and expected to increase to 5.7% in 2025. This represents a significant 1.4 percentage point rise from 2023, showcasing the impressive economic vitality of the region. The heightened growth forecast in East Africa may be due to several key factors, including increased intra-regional trade, improved agricultural productivity, strategic infrastructure investment, and substantial growth in services sector. These drivers are fueling the region's economic expansion. Notably, South Sudan and Rwanda are expected to lead with growth rates of 6.8%, followed by Ethiopia at 6.7%, Djibouti at 6.6%, and Uganda at 6.5%. Furthermore, Tanzania, Burundi, and Kenya are projected to experience growth rates of 6.2%, 5.9%, and 5.6% in real GDP growth, respectively. These forecasts underscore a positive economic outlook for the East Africa region and highlight the potential for continued growth and development in the years ahead. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the 2024-2025 budget is prepared based on macroeconomic forecast of 6.8% growth in real GDP for South Sudan, expected average inflation rate of about 58%, and the stabilization of South Sudan pound at around 2,527 per US dollar. Additionally, we estimate that the crude oil prices will average at 79 USD per barrel. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the upward trend in food prices can be ascribed to the following. The East Africa region has experienced increased food inflation due to prolonged droughts, irregular rainfall patterns, severe flooding, and heightened global food prices resulting from the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. 2, South Sudan dependence on imports from the region is a key factor contributing to the rising cost of living within the country. And 3, the influx of refugees and returnees due to the ongoing conflict in Sudan has increased the demand for essential food commodities, while poor harvests, supply chain disruption, and reduced humanitarian aid from traditional donors have further compounded the situation. Right Honourable Speaker, honourable members, the rising general prices has inflicted hardship upon the general population. While this is difficult for all, the vulnerable segments of our society are particularly worse off. As a result, the government proposes to zero-rate basic assorted food items such as grain products, maize, sorghum, wheat flour, and cooking oil to make them affordable to the citizens. Right Honourable Speaker, honourable members, the government is fully committed to practical policy measures to ease inflationary pressures and restore macroeconomic stability. These measures include strategic investment in the agricultural sector to strengthen food security, boost foreign exchange reserves to strengthen South Sudanese pounds, halting deficit financing for budget shortfalls by discouraging overdrafts, and enhancing overall fiscal discipline. Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members, while the global economy has displayed commendable resilience with a steady growth rate projected at 3% in 2024, the conflict in Sudan and consecutive years of severe flooding in South Sudan have impeded our country's capacity to capitalize on improving global economic prospects. As a result, South Sudan's real GDP experienced a 5% contraction in 2023-2024 due to damages on the Dardanelles oil pipeline. Right Honourable Speaker, honourable members, during the first 3 quarters of fiscal year 2023-2024, the aggregate oil production averaged at 150,000 barrels per day. Specifically, Dardanelles output stood at 105,000 barrels per day, with JIPO and ESPO contributing 40,000 and 5,000 barrels per day, respectively. Right Honourable Speaker, honourable members, the oil and gas sector's industrial output saw 70% reduction in the last quarter of the fiscal year 2023-2024, resulting in an estimated decline of 105,000 barrels per day, mainly due to the rupture in the Dardanelles oil pipeline and the lingering impacts of severe floods on oil production from the past years. It is the view of the Ministry of Finance that the continued disruption of crude oil production and export is a national security matter and should be treated as such. Right Honourable Speaker, honourable members, the agricultural sector has been severely affected by recurrent flooding, erratic rainfalls, locust invasions, and prolonged droughts. These climate change-induced effects have significantly constrained the sector's capacity to attain food self-sufficiency, enhance livelihoods, and promote economic growth. I call on this August House to support socio-economic policies that prioritize resolving these challenges to safeguard the sustainability and resilience of the agricultural sector. Right Honourable Speaker, honourable members, the ongoing challenges persist in hampering agricultural productivity, significantly stunting its development. In recognition of this, the government has earmarked SSP 225 billion in the 2024-2025 budget to facilitate the investment in the agricultural sector and fortifying food security measures. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I wish to emphasize the government's unwavering commitment to providing financial allocation to incentivize strategic investment in the mineral sector. In line with this objective, the government is dedicated to pursuing tangible reforms targeted at the mining industry to expand the revenue base and foster economic diversification. Consequently, SSP's 75 billion has been earmarked to actively drive the strategic advancement of the mineral sector, capitalizing on its huge potential and enhancing its contribution to the national coffers. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the financial sector in South Sudan experienced instability largely due to substantial decrease in foreign reserves following the interruption of the Darb land operations. However, due to the adverse effect of deficit financing, the government remains committed to strict control over money growth and deficit financing. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, in July 2021, the Council of Ministers approved the Public Financial Management Reform Strategy. This strategy aims to improve economic governance and ensure the efficient delivery of vital goods and services to our citizens. And as a result, the Ministry of Finance and Planning is leading the implementation of the Public Financial Management Reform Program. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, as part of the strengthening regulation in the financial and service sectors, the Ministry of Finance and Planning proposes the enactment of the following bills. 1. South Sudan Insurance Bill. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the Ministry is working on a draft regulatory framework and proposes enactment of insurance law as a precursor to eventual establishment of South Sudan Insurance Regulatory Authority. The said body shall formulate effective regulatory strategies, facilitate sustainable market development, and promote the competitiveness of the insurance industry in the regional insurance market. The responsibility of licensing and regulating insurance firms currently lies with the Bank of South Sudan, whose jurisdiction is limited to the financial part of the insurance sector. However, there are aspects of insurance, such as life premiums, that require a specialized institution, as is the practice in the region. 2. Betting, gaming, and lotteries bill. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, South Sudan has a burgeoning gaming industry consisting of casinos, betting, gaming, and lottery companies. Inasmuch as the alien culture of gambling has introduced a cocktail of social ills into our society, we ought to regulate and explore the opportunities emanating from the industry. The Department of Betting, Gaming and Lotteries has already been established within the Ministry of Finance through a Ministerial Order number 3, 2024, to lay a regulatory and revenue generation groundwork for the gaming industry. The role of the authority will be to mitigate the social ills which are more often than not associated with the gaming industry. The second mandate would be to expound the second mandate of the authority would be to expand tax base and raise more revenues for the government. I therefore urge the August House to hasten legislation on the said bill once tabled. The fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. Number one, resource envelope. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, on Friday, August 2nd, 2024, the Cabinet approved the proposed spending limit totaling SSP 4.172 trillion, along with the resource envelope of SSSP 2.258 trillion. Of these, expected income from oil is 1.138 trillion, while non-oil revenue is projected to be 1.119 trillion, constituting 50% of the total revenue estimates. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, to raise non-oil revenues to 50% of the resource envelope, we propose adjustments in the fees structure for some tax categories, as well as cancellation of non-statutory tax exemptions. It is essential that the August House passes this bill alongside the 2024-2025 budget to achieve revenue target. 2. Aid financing. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the development partners continue to play a crucial role in supporting South Sudan development and humanitarian efforts. The current modality for delivery of aid is through projects implemented by third parties on behalf of the government. As such, aid flows do not go through the National Treasury. We are currently working to strengthen our capacities to enable us to request support from the partners. With respect to grants flow to the country, the government will accelerate the process of approval of national aid policy and the revised national aid strategy with the objective to bolster partnership and increase development grants. 3. Expenditure ceilings. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I present the proposed total expenditure for 2024-2025 fiscal year amounting to SSP 4.172 trillion. And the breakdown of these expenditure ceiling is as follows. A. Recurrent expenditure. 19% of total amount equivalent to 773.8 billion is designated for wages and salary. 10% of the total amount equivalent to 412.5 billion is earmarked for the use of goods and services. 10% equivalent to 419.3 billion is allocated to states and administrative areas, including state organized forces. 0.1% equivalent to 2.3 billion is allocated to other expenses. 15% equivalent to 642.3 billion is allocated to salary arrears for both civil servants and organized forces. 6% of the total amount equivalent to 257.5 billion is allocated to funding December 2026 pre-election activities. 4.2% equivalent to 173.7 billion is earmarked for humanitarian and emergency fund. 2.6%, equivalent to 108.5 billion, is allocated to funding transfers to international treaties. 0.7%, equivalent to 30 billion, is allocated to constituency development fund. 2.3%, equivalent to 96 billion, is allocated to foreign missions arrears. 2.2%, equivalent to 93.8 billion, is earmarked for funding peace implementation. 0.2%, equivalent to 8.6 billion, is allocated to the Agricultural Bank of South Sudan. 0.9%, equivalent to 35.7 billion, is earmarked for clearance of carried forward arrears, while 0.8%, equivalent to 34.3 billion, is allocated to funding litigation and settlement of disputes. B. Capital expenditure. 11.8%, equivalent to 493.4 billion, is allocated for capital expenditure. C. Mandatory expenditure. 3.8%, equivalent to 157 billion, is allocated to funding transfers to Sudan in terms of tariffs, transportation and processing fees. 0.5%, equivalent to 22.8 billion, is allocated to funding transfers to oil-producing states, and that is 2%. 0.8%, equivalent to 34.2 billion, allocated to transfer to oil-producing community, 3%. 0.8 of the total, equivalent to 34.2 billion, is allocated to funding debt. It is allocated for transfer to the Ministry of Petroleum. 6.9%, equivalent to 286.6 billion, is allocated to funding debt repayment, both principal and interest. And finally, 1.3% of the total amount, equivalent to 55 billion, is earmarked for South Sudan Revenue Administration retention and commission to commercial banks. 4. Effective implementation. Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members, to ensure the effective implementation of this year's budget, the Ministry of Finance will be pursuing some of the following policy initiatives. A. Raising revenue collection target to 1.119 trillion, which is 50% of the resource envelope. Allocating 30 billion to strengthen tax administration modernization. 3. Fostering stringent fiscal discipline across ministries, departments, and agencies. And lastly, full operationalization of public procurement and disposal of asset authority to ensure budget-based contracting, value for money, and eliminating of budget spending. Financing the fiscal deficit. Right Honourable Speaker, honourable members, to reduce budgetary deficit, the government has to undertake some of the following options. A. Resumption of dark land. When production of dark land resumes, the government would recover 70% of projected oil revenue amounting to 1.7 trillion. B. Exchange rate realignments. The Ministry of Finance and Planning and the Bank of South Sudan will work to reunify the exchange rate to bridge the gap between the parallel market and official rates. And lastly, grants and concessional loans. The ministry is working with partners to secure grants and concessional loans in line with the public financial management reforms to finance the deficit. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, our nation is confronting significant macroeconomic challenges that demand not only robust economic strategies but change of spending behavior to foster stability and sustainable economic development. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the proposed budget for 2024-2025 will relentlessly prioritize initiatives that directly benefit our citizens, such as consolidating peace, honoring salary commitments, settling arrears, funding security sector reform, servicing outstanding debts, stabilizing the economy, and promoting economic diversification. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the government's unwavering commitment to prudently manage public resources is fundamental to ensuring the welfare of all South Sudanese. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the current fiscal year's budget notably emphasizes the development of the mining sector and the boosting of agricultural projects to diversify the economy and reduce dependence on oil. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the fiscal year 2024-2025 allocates funds to the social sector to enhance service delivery and support our vulnerable population. As you will see in the budget, we have significantly increased allocation to the education and health sector. The ministry considers these sectors as mainstay of our socio-economic development, which is the core of nation building. Due to challenges we have gone through in the past years as a country, we have not been able to invest significant resources in these sectors, which we have done in this budget. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I am confident that the reforms outlined in this budget and our continuing peace-building efforts will lay the groundwork for the economic recovery and progress. I present the proposed national budget for 2024-2025, the appropriation and the finance bill for your deliberation and approval. Thank you.